Hunting Horn. Everybody loves to play with it, but mysteriously, not many people like to play as Hunting Horn, and those that do never talk about a solo performance. So, not to toot my own horn, but let's discover what Hunting Horn does. As always, it's general controls time. This being Hunting Horn, you should know that all of your attacks do count as impact type damage. This means that you can't sever tails, but in exchange, you can stun monsters if you hit the head enough times. You also get a new set of hit zones to look up because impact damage can have different weak spots from cutting weapons on occasion. Press X for the left swing attack, which sweeps horizontally from left to right. This attack, like most Hunting Horn attacks, has its hitbox start very early on in the attack animation, basically starting from behind you and covering quite the range. This attack's low profile makes it useful for clearing out small monsters. Press X again for the forward slam, which is your gap closer. This attack is the most straightforward of the Hunting Horn attacks to grasp, since it just takes you forward and has a more standard hitbox if you're coming from the other weapons. The hitbox also lasts quite a while, making it useful for head sniping on turns. Like most Hunting Horn attacks, you can also access the forward slam by doing an unsheath attack, or from idle by pressing on the control stick and pressing X. This is how you can mix up your attacks mid-combo. Just press on the control stick to access the alternate attacks. Press A for the right swing attack, which, unlike the left swing, has more of a vertical hitbox. Think of your left swing and right swing like a left hook and a right uppercut, respectively. This attack's hitbox also starts pretty early on from your right side, so you can face to your left and use the right swing that way, which is vital for one of Hunting Horn's highest damage combos. Press A again for the flourish, which makes you swing twice. It's a bit less powerful than the one right swing, even if you hit both hits, but it's got some utility which I'll explain later. You can also dodge out of it after the first swing, making it a poking tool for short windows. Press X and A for the backswing attack. This is the single strongest attack you have, but like a longsword's Phage Slash, it moves you backwards. This attack also doesn't hit forward that much. It can, but you'd need to sidle up right next to the monster. Instead, try facing away or to the side. It's got quite the high reach and also hits behind you, obviously. Press X and A again for the swing and slam, which sweeps from right to left, then slams down. Oddly enough, the slam hits as hard as the backswing, which makes this attack much less powerful than it looks. It's still useful, particularly when you don't want to move and have the window to attack. Oh, and keep in mind that you'll also knock ally hunters away when you hit them with the slam, so don't use this in a crowd. Finally, you can also press the special attack button for the hilt jab. Unlike your other attacks, this attack deals cutting damage, which means you can sever tails with it. This attack also has an oddly stubby range, but it's also the fastest single attack that HH has, so it's meant for setting up melodies. Mashing the special attack button leads into the left swing. Alright, we've talked about the basic attacks, so let's talk about the colored notes in the top left of your screen. That's the musical staff. Your X, A, and X and A attacks each add different notes to the right end of the staff depending on the attack. X adds note 1, A adds note 2, as does your special attack button, and X and A adds note 3. Flourish, your directional A attack, is unique since you can play any note by pushing the corresponding buttons before the second swing to get that note. Each note's color depends on the specific HH you're running, and can be viewed on the first page of the equipment details. Certain combinations of notes will glow on the staff. Those indicate melodies that you can play. Your playlist is determined by your notes, and can be viewed on the 6th and 7th pages of your equipment details. You can also access these mid-hunt by opening a menu and pressing R for the melody menu, so you don't have to dig into your equipment details to remind yourself which melodies you need to cast. On this screen, melodies in white text are inactive, yellow text is active, and flashing melodies will expire in the next 20 seconds. You can cast melodies by pressing R, or by pressing R, X, and A while sheathed. Doing so will make you recite the melody that's highlighted on the musical staff. Only the rightmost valid combination of notes will be cast, which can matter for certain hunting horns or for self-improvement, the basic melody that all hunting horns have. Any melody that you cast will also affect all ally hunters in the same area when you cast it, excluding self-improvement. There are a few recital variants. Press R from idle, after left or right swing, or after a flourish for the basic recital left sweep, which has a similar swing to the left swing. Recite after a forward slam or a sweep and slam for the recital kick. Recite after a backswing for recital backswing, or after a hilt jab for recital upswing. After you recite once, you can press R again to perform an encore, which, as the name implies, casts the melody again immediately. Whenever you recite or encore a melody which has its effects already active, the melody gains boosted effects and restores some of its duration. Each melody has a different effect time, which varies in length per melody. Importantly, it doesn't matter whether you encore the melody or simply recite it twice. The melody's effect will be boosted either way, so don't feel pressured to encore everything. Just like the recitals, the encores have a few different variations, but this time it depends on both the direction you hold on the control stick, as well as whether or not you're playing the self-improvement melody. Don't press anything and you'll get the encore backswings. Press right and you'll get the encore right swings. Or left for the encore left swings. Self-improvement makes the encore faster by removing the first hit. Oh, and if you flinch before you can finish your encore, the notes on your musical staff will go away. Not if you flinch during a recital though, only an encore. One final mechanic to discuss. You may have noticed that you get notes whether or not you hit the monster. But if you do hit the monster, the note you get with this attack is doubled. Recite a melody of all double notes, and you also recite the previous melody in addition to the current one. This makes melody upkeep way easier, and it also incentivizes hitting the monster over what we in the know call corner horning. Try your best to double up on melodies whenever you can, but don't get overinvested and restart making a melody just because you whiffed once. Melody uptime is more important. Oh, and if the first melody you cast in a hunt is made of all double notes, you activate self-improvement. Finally, your mid-air attack is a simple jumping swing, which can play any note if you press the corresponding buttons. Alright, that's all of the moves. Let's put all of this together. Hunting Horn, despite what it seemed like on the surface, is a technical weapon, given its very unique swinging attacks and the high amount of active frames on your attacks. Optimal punishes on monsters are tailored to each individual monster. Not to mention your strongest attack, the backswing, also moves you backwards, which can set you up for more hits in a combo, or mess up your position entirely. Put simply, most weapons, you point yourself directly at the monster and press buttons. HH? It's not uncommon to point yourself away from the monster, which is more disorienting than it sounds. On most monsters, however, you can get away with right swings or back swings depending on the window you got. Right swings can fit into slightly shorter windows than back swings. Make sure to mix things up every now and then. Forward slams can act as a gap closer, left swings can work if you're on the monster's right side, and flourishes can act as a really specific poking tool that you can roll out of, or get melodies out faster. Even the swing and slam can see use if you have a good window for it. Basically, every move you have is a tool. You need to use the right tool for the right circumstance. One thing you won't see a lot of, however, are encores. In solo play, you've likely already spent a while effectively doing nothing with recitals, and spending more time to double up on melodies is just a larger opportunity for the monster to kick your face in. Monsters will rarely give you the chance to encore. In multiplayer, different story. Other people exist to distract the monster, but do keep in mind that because your recitals make noise, you'll attract monster aggro more often. Yes, this is a mechanic. The bowguns also have to deal with this because shooting a gun makes noise. You can definitely use encores on downs if you have a melody set up to play, though, especially if you face away from the monster, so you back into it with the encore. Continuing on with the melodies, in normal play you only want to focus and memorize the one or two most important songs you got in your playlist, so you can get them up and upkeep them constantly. Usually this will be the attack up melody, self-improvement, and maybe a utility melody. Once you got your melodies up, it's combo time. Though remember that HH will usually use right swing or back swing for damage. Try to keep the monster's model in mind. Accurately hitting weak spots is more important than using your stronger attacks on a worse hit zone. Self-improvement is your upkeep cost. Without it up, you'll be moving at the speed of a paralyzed snail, which isn't great for moving out of attacks. With the movement speed up buff, you move real fast, about double your normal speed. It's not as fast as dashing, but it's definitely faster than walking around unsheathed. With this up, you can just walk out of a ton of attacks, which is essential for getting into the right positions for good punishes. Speaking of walking out of attacks, you're going to want to do that a lot. Sheathing as Hunting Horn is liable to mess up the melody you're forming in your staff, potentially ruining the really good double note combo you've got going. Minimizing these types of screw-ups is vital to good Hunting Horn play. Let's quickly cover some of the most useful HH combos. The classic down combo is Allegro. Loop between A and X, performing right swing into left swing, and going back to right swing, and ending off with a swing and slam when the window closes. This is the most straightforward combo for any HH user to know about, since it doesn't move you around mid-execution unlike some of the stronger combos. Remember that your right swing is more vertical than your left swing, so position yourself well if in front of a downed monster. Sforzando is the strongest loop that HH has. Loop between X and A, alternating between backswing and right swing. The toughest part of this is positioning yourself correctly, because you'll be backing off of backswing and not repositioning with the right swing. Ideally, you should point yourself or be to a monster's left side for this, since both attacks start on the right side of your hunter. If you're really creative, both attacks' hitboxes do hit behind you, so you could point away from the monster. Another alternative combo is Distanza, loop between directional X and A. This combo, while prone to making you slip off of monsters thanks to the forward slam, is effective at not sweeping to your sides, letting you only hit the part that you're directly facing. And those are your most important universal combos on HH. Do remember that finishing off a down combo varies between every single monster, because a monster's recovery animation also often differs between monsters, and because you can KO monsters by hitting their head, you'll see a lot more downs more often. Different moves can punish different monsters more effectively than others. It'll take a lot of experimentation for you to maximize your damage on each individual monster, but usually, if you don't care about that sort of thing, focus on using attacks that'll accurately hit the weak spot. Think about using the left swing if your right swing would hit the monster's arm, or focus on using forward slams to hit heads while a monster's turning around. Finally, let's wrap this up with a few cool things to know about Hunting Horn. All of your attacks grant super armor, letting you ignore things such as light wind pressure or light knockback attacks. Keep on swinging. All of Hunting Horn's multi-hit attacks, your Flourish and Swing and Slam, will double their note as long as any hit connects with a monster. Obviously, this means you can hit with either hit of the Swing and Slam to double up. But interestingly, this means that if you miss with the Flourish's first hit, you can choose to not press anything before the second hit to try to double the first note instead. Finally, for you multiplayer enthusiasts out there, doubling up on melodies will not apply two separate instances of the same melody. Instead, it'll act like you encored the melody. This means that you should probably take a different Hunting Horn from the other guy. Let's move on to Striker Style. Striker Style plays exactly like Freedom Unite's version of Hunting Horn, which doesn't translate well into this game. You can't perform any of the alternate attacks from idle by pressing on the control stick. You're forced to perform the basic attacks. X gets turned into the right swing, which is very disorienting. Your unsheath attack also becomes the right swing attack. Press X again to perform the left swing. This basically turns your X button into the Allegro loop. Pressing A makes you perform a hilt jab, which can be repeated up to 3 times in a row. Pressing X and A will only lead into the Swing and Slam. You do not perform a backswing if you press X and A again, only the Swing and Slam. Next is Aerial Style. Aerial gives up the flourish on the ground, so pressing A from idle will always result in a right swing. Pressing A again will make you do a hilt jab. In midair, you can press any button to start an aerial flourish, which, like the grounded version, lets you get up to 2 notes. After an aerial flourish, you can press R to start an aerial recital, which starts up faster at the cost of not being an attack. Keep in mind that you can only do an aerial recital after an aerial flourish, so don't screw up your combos. It's Adept Style time. Adept Style is very similar to Aerial Style. It even loses the same things as Aerial, mainly giving up the flourish in exchange for the right swing hilt jab combo on A. Adept dodging an attack lets you perform an Adept medley. With the Adept medley, you can add up to 3 notes, 1 note per swing. Like the flourish, not pressing buttons will let you double notes even if you miss the swing right after your input, so calm down with the mashing. You're able to dodge in between each of the swings, so you can either stop early or adept dodge again. You can also immediately perform an adept recital after an adept dodge, which is entirely invulnerable during the startup. Switching it up to Valor now. In any state, you can't forward slam from unsheathed idle. Your X and A from idle is always the swing and slam, and pressing the special attack button after a hilt jab leads into a forward slam. Outside of Valor state, you can't encore your melodies or flourish at all, so it makes reciting melodies somewhat more difficult. From your Valor sheath, you can press X for a Valor forward slam, A for a Valor flourish, X and A for a Valor backswing, and R for a Valor recital, which lets you encore afterwards. In Valor state, you regain the ability to perform a flourish, either from idle or mid-combo, and your rolls become Valor dashes. After any Valor dash or Valor sheath, you can perform a Valor bravura by pressing R, which is a fancy recital that hits harder and is faster than normal recitals. After a Valor bravura, press R again to perform a Valor virtuoso, basically being an encore that's performed faster and keeps you in place. These let you perform recitals and encores much more aggressively than normal. Do remember that this doesn't replace the normal recital. You have to Valor sheath or Valor dash before you can perform these attacks. Let's cover some simple Valor combos. The Rondo combo is the fastest way to chain backslams together. Alternate between Valor sheath and backswing by looping Y and X and A. This is HH's highest DPS combo because you don't have to pause or do the slower swing and slam in between. Obviously, this does move you around a lot, but if you can find opportunities where you can do this over and over, it's worth considering. If you need to refresh a song in Valor state, try the Tuplet combo. Forward slam, Valor sheath, then Valor bravura, and Valor virtuoso. Obviously, one variant of the combo needs a melody that ends in note 1, but you can also cut out the forward slam if you need to. The Valor virtuoso hits hard and doesn't take nearly as much time as normal encores to do, so they're more applicable in more circumstances. Don't always try to go into this, however. You don't want to eat a Gladenus' tail slam directly to your dome, but if you have the window, why not? Finally, let's wrap it up with Alchemy style. Like most other styles, Alchemy loses flourish, so the right swing will lead into a hilt jab with A. However, the backswing attack may only be done after a swing and slam. Pressing X and A from other attacks will always lead into the swing and slam, so be careful. Landing the swing and slam also charges the Alchemy gauge faster. Don't forget that you can Alchemy barrel sheave by pressing R and Y during a roll. So, how effective are these styles? Hunting Horn really loves unrestricted access to its toolbox, so Guild having no restrictions makes it the best. 2 HA slots also happens to be the best for running both absolutes, which you run pretty much all the time. Following Guild, we have Adept and Valor. Valor HH's ability to chain backswings together quickly makes it a potent force, and endgame Valor HH sets can occasionally tech in Quick Sheave to maximize this aspect. Not every monster will let you chain backswings together quickly though, and the 1 HA slot can be a damper on occasion. Not to mention that using Valor Sheaves to dodge attacks can mess up your melody combo. Overall, it's a strong style with minimal downsides. Adept HH giving up Flourish means that it's taking away a quick poking tool, and a way for you to get up melodies slightly faster. But gaining the Adept Tuplet and the ability to cast melodies while completely invincible can be quite solid. The Adept Tuplet can take its sweet time to cast, but remember that like the other multi-hit attacks of HH, you can roll before each swing to cancel out of it sooner. Using the Adept Recital for complete invulnerability is also a good play, and can set up encores if you manage to stagger with the initial hit. And don't forget, you have access to the backswing, so that'll be a good default option. Step down a bit and you got Alchemy HH. Alchemy HH loses direct access to the backswing, being much more impactful than it seems on the surface. Being locked behind a swing and slam means that you can't use it nearly as often, so you're stuck using the right swing or even the swing and slam on certain windows. Speaking of which, getting note 3s out is substantially harder than normal, given that 1. The swing and slam is much slower than the backswing, and 2. You'll be knocking other people around every time you need to get a note 3 out for melody. Make sure to look at both sides of the street, lest you knock away a poor dual blades user that just wanted to spin 24/7. Finally, the third Hunter art slot isn't as impactful in Hunting Horn, given its mediocre arts. Foreshadowing. Here at Rock Bottom, we got Aerial and Striker. You may think that Aerial is better than Alchemy, or even as good as Adept HH, given that they both lose the Flourish. However, the forced loss of the normal roll is more impactful than it seems on the surface, since it means you can't easily reposition after backswings or just in general. The aerial flourish is alright, but I'd rather flourish on the ground if I want to line up melody quickly. Mounting monsters is also generally slow, even if you gain a window out of it. More advanced players will tend to find their own windows to fit in backswings. At least you can still backswing an aerial, unlike Striker. Striker is annoying. Not only do you gain a useless third art slot, but your A button attack speed converted into the hilt jab makes doubling up on note 2 such a pain in the ass. You'd have to get up right into the monster's grill to ensure that it hits. Did I mention that you lose backswings in Striker? You gotta always use the swing and slam to get out note 3s, and you also lose a fairly fast and highly damaging staple attack. No flourishes either, so you can't get out melodies quickly if you need to, or even poke. Your forward slam also goes bye-bye, so you can't even try to gap close if you wanted to. For an extra bit of weirdness, your unsheathed attack always goes into the right swing, which makes positioning and head sniping more difficult. All this for an extra Hunter art slot, which isn't particularly impactful. Let's change gears and talk about Hunter arts now. Euphony causes you to play all your melodies simultaneously after an animation. These melodies will only affect yourself, and you can't encore this, so you do still have to cast the actual melodies again to get their stronger effects. Exception is obviously when you already have the melodies already up, so in that case they do gain their stronger effects. The higher rank of this HA, the less time it takes to cast. Sonic Smash is your only damage Hunter art. You swing forward a few times depending on the rank, then perform a final hit that emits Sonic Waves, which has the effect of Sonic Bombs. Uniquely, this finishing hit deals scaling fixed damage, which deals damage according to this equation. It's basically a motion value with an additive portion. Why'd Capcom do this? I don't know. Ranks 1 and 2 have 2 opening hits, while rank 3 has 4. Harmonize buffs you up for a short time, enabling all notes added to your scale to become doubled. That's it. Duration increases with rank. Invigoration is another fucking buff art. After you cast it, your normal recitals and encores let you dodge before performing them, basically turning them into the Adept recital. The buff's duration increases with rank. Note that this HA will not replace the special recitals from Adept and Valor styles. Analysis time. Hunting Horn Hunter arts, say that 3 times fast, aren't all that great to your game plan, solo at least. Invigoration is probably the least bad one, given that it basically combines an evade with a recital, making them more useful for offensive purposes. However, if you don't play a bunch of recitals, solo play this can be common, this HA loses effectiveness. Even in multiplayer, you can only use so many recitals in between each other. That's not to say that this is bad, it's just kinda okay. Sonic Smash definitely exists. It's unique, being one of 2 HAs that deal fixed damage, the other one being the Gunlance's Dragon Blast. On the one hand, this ignores hit zone values, so you can use this wherever you want. On the other hand, this does deal KO and exhaust damage, so you may want to hit the head. On the other hand, this HA usually deals less on average than a standard backswing, right swing combo, and you can't even use this reactively like you can with actual Sonic Bombs, so the actual Sonic Waves effect is a fun thing that's nice to have on occasion, rather than something you can use instantly. Also, you can slide off of the monster while you're performing this HA. This HA is the definition of aggressively mediocre. At least it's an okay third Hunter art for Striker and Alchemy. Euphony is, on paper, useful. It casts all of your melodies on yourself simultaneously, which, while its usefulness is diminished in multiplayer, seems to be pretty good for solo players. This basically helps with solo melody upkeep, and in general, the time you spend on reciting melodies you can spend on focusing on your good damage combos. But realize that for many HHs, you really only want to focus on one or two melodies to upkeep, such as a staple attack up, as well as maybe a utility song. And you can definitely juggle 2 or 3 melodies by finding windows to recite, especially with the double note mechanic, which as a reminder simultaneously casts the last melody you recited, provided all the notes of the current melody are doubled. So this just ends up as redundant, unfortunately. And then there's Harmonize. Double notes is a really cool mechanic that incentivizes hunting horn users to actually hit the monster, rather than sit in the corner and do the equivalent of playing Guitar Hero and generally not contributing anything to the hunt aside from buffs. This takes a mechanic and, in the best case, forgives you for whipping your attacks as HH. In the worst case, you go to the corner and masturbate for 2 minutes. What a great use of your HA slot, right? Wrong! Alright, let's change some gears and talk about literally every hunting horn melody and their effects in the notebook. Before that, let's talk about how melody uptime works. Whenever you initially use a melody, that melody lasts for a given period of time. You can increase this duration by using an armor skill, Horn Maestro. Recall that melodies also have 2 tiers of effects, the second activating whenever you recite a melody with its effect already up. Whenever you replay a melody, you do not necessarily gain the full duration back immediately. Instead, each time you loop a song on the playlist, you restore a part of its duration instead. However, no matter how many times you loop the song, you can't exceed the duration of the original cast. This means that you will need to continue to recite melodies a few times throughout the hunt, except under very specific circumstances. So, try your best to weave in recitals while you're smashing that tuba on the monster's head. Self-improvement comes by default on all hunting horns, no matter their note set. It's always Note 1, Note 1. The first effect is movement speed up. This effect turns you from walking slower than all other weapons to easily the fastest, and is your upkeep cost. This makes walking around attacks and repositioning much easier, so make sure you have this up at all times. The second effect prevents you from bouncing. It's mind's eye. It's nice to have, but not necessary. Attack Boost comes in 2 flavors, Attack Boost S and Attack Boost L. No points for guessing what the S and L mean. S gives you 10% attack on first cast, then 15% attack on repeat. L gives 15% attack, then 20%. These are your other staple melodies. Tends to be a must-take in solo play, and an almost always take in multiplayer. The only exception being when another HH player is already taking an attack up horn, or if negate abnormal status would be more useful. There's also a third flavor of attack boost where it comes pre-packaged with defense boost, and both are S level. Treat this as a slightly harder to cast attack boost S, basically. Negate abnormal status does what it says on the tin. It negates statuses that aren't the elemental blights. You name it, and as long as its name doesn't end with blight, it's negated. Except for Blast Blight. This also negates that. This melody is a popular choice against monsters such as Dread Queen Rathian, where you remove most of the challenge by negating her poison for almost free. There is no second tier effect for this one. Another popular utility melody is Hearing Protection. This one also comes in 2 variants. S gives the effects of earplugs, the armor skill, and L gives high-grade earplugs. Repeating S grants high-grade earplugs. 2 more popular songs to cover. Negate stamina use also does what it says on the tin. It can help out basically everyone, but especially DB and bow users, since they don't have to overdose on Mega Dash juices. This one also comes in 2 flavors, but the only change is the duration. The final song we'll go over in detail is Finale. This one's interesting. Each time you play it, all melodies have their duration restored by 30 seconds, increasing to 40 with Horn Maestro. On the surface, it's a good melody that frees you from playing the longer combo songs as long as you play it somewhat consistently. But when you look at it much more closely, this song enables infinite uptime for every melody, including melodies from other hunting horn users. I don't want to oversell this, but imagine reciting Finale once. That's at least 30 seconds of uptime on all of your songs. So, self-improvement, and since Finale is an orange-red-orange song, attack boost L. Encore, and you get up to 60 seconds. Then you recite it again with double notes. It's an immediate plus 60 seconds to all melodies. Then you encore it for 120 seconds total. That's 2 minutes of increased uptime. Then imagine that you have even one hunting horn player with you, and they have 2 melodies that they're running. You play Finale constantly, and they can just focus on DPS combos after they play their melodies twice, since they never have to replay it. Finale's pretty effective in both solo and multiplayer play, and its effectiveness only goes up exponentially with other hunting horn users. It can be rough in solo, since you may not be able to cast Finale every 30 seconds, but getting this note combo is easy, since orange and red notes are always note 2 or note 3, which happens to line up with your high DPS combo in guild. Alright, time for the rest of the melodies at high speed. These are more or less self-explanatory and tend to be nice-to-haves over absolutely must-haves. If you skip this section, don't worry, I won't tell if you don't tell. Defense boost S and L definitely exist, and may or may not save someone by offsetting enough damage from an EX deviant every now and then. Anywhere else? You might save a Mega Potion here and there, but it's definitely not necessary. Health boost S and L increases your max health by 30 or 50 respectively. For people already at max health, something that should be guaranteed at endgame unless someone screwed up real hard, this acts as a guaranteed big heal that has a really long cooldown. The big heal only occurs if you don't already have the buff, so don't recite this rapidly in order to get big heals more often. Wind resistance and negation do what they say on the tin. Resistance provides windproof low on first cast, then high on second cast, whereas negation immediately provides high res. There's also a melody called Hearing S and Wind Res that packages both of the first tier effects into one melody. Psychic reveals all large monsters' positions on the map. This is kinda niche because both Paintballs and Psycho Serum exist. Health recovery comes in a few different flavors, but all of them do roughly the same thing. They restore health. Health recovery often degrades into a previous tier, the chance of which decreases if you have Horn Maestro, restoring 10 health at XS and increasing by 5 per tier up to 25 at L. Sometimes it also comes packaged with some status recovery. Recovery speed does the same thing as the armor skill, and also comes in 2 tiers. S makes you recover red health at double speed, or quadruple speed with L. Divine Protection does the same thing as the Epinimus armor skill, granting a 50% chance to reduce damage taken by 30%. Use it if you like gambling. Negate Cold and Heat do what they say on the tin. It can help in those times when someone accidentally forgets drinks. Negate Heat also has some utility in that it also negates lava damage. Negate Stun and Negate Paralysis are pretty obvious at this point. They get beaten by Negate Abnormal Status. Tremor Res can sometimes be helpful, but the HHs that it comes on don't have attack boost melodies, which means you have to explicitly go out of your way for it, which can be a pain. The overall song set of Tremor Res horns isn't all that great either. Definitely consider just using the armor skill over it instead. Bind Res prevents all sorts of ailments that might hinder your movement. And that's it, really. Elemental attack boost is self-explanatory. It boosts your element, not status, by 8%, then 10%. Abnormal boost increases the value of status, poison, para, and sleep, not blast, by 10%, then 15%. There's also a full suite of Elem Res boost songs, which also comes in 2 tiers each per element. S boosts your res of the corresponding element by 5, and reduces the grade of blight you take from that element as well. Then, on recast, it increases to 7, and makes you immune to the blight. L starts with that effect, then increases the res to 10 on repeat. There's also a universal elemental res boost, which boosts your res by 5, then 10, but it doesn't provide immunity to blights. There's a song that does do that, called Blightproof. Sonic waves emit noise, like the Sonic Bomb item, which can make certain monsters flinch. It certainly exists. Negate Knockback reduces the tier of knockback you take from monsters. But before you go ahead and mash the playback button, you should know that this melody can accidentally cart hunters by removing their iframes for some light hits. So make sure you know that this is a good idea beforehand. Affinity Up and Health Recovery S boosts your affinity by 15%, then 20%, and also restores your health by 15 or 10 if it gets downgraded. This is a fine alternative if your hunting horn buddies already took attack up L. And that's all the songs. You can find the cards I use to display the songs in the description. Finally, time to talk about progression options. You can use both Petrified and Obsidian horns, but the Elder horn sadly isn't as good. Instead, try Arjuris' hunting horn, the Zurogong Secundo in G1, then transition to the Yukumo Spirit Flute in G2, and back to the Zurogong Tertia over G4. Armor options are the same as most other Blade Masters. Bujibu at the start, then Rathalos mixed through the end of low rank, Rathalos mix S at high rank, and ending off with Senator X in G rank. Low rank progression starts off with the Petrified horn through the start and middle, alternatively using the Iron horn for its increased sharpness occasionally. Don't forget to pick up the Buja set for early attack up L, with an optional switch to Senator set if you really want to. The Kutku's song is an early fire option, if you wanted to go with that. With Village 5, you gain access to Rathalos and his mix set, a classic progression staple for Blade Masters. Zurogong Primo becomes good this time, with its strong 130 raw and decent length of green sharpness. The Dododo horn is a good option for ice, and has even more green sharpness at the cost of a bit of raw. The Hunter's horn, an upgrade from the Bone horn, is your first horn that has the attack boost L melody. It's not useful beyond this point, but I just think it's neat. Also in Village 5 is the Mizutsune horn, Poetic Bell. This is your water option, which will also become one of the few horns with affinity up after a few upgrades. Until then, the playlist isn't that great. A good alternative is the Yukumo Pure Flute, which has longer green, attack boost melodies, and almost as good raw as the Zurogong Primo. In Village 6, the Glavenus HH Hell Horn becomes available, which is a pretty good HH throughout the game. It packs attack boost S melodies, and in the next rank, gains access to attack boost L and finale melodies. Usurper's Growl, Zenogre's HH, is a good thunder option at this point. For pure raw, you got two options. The Striped Drangonga from Tigrex is an early source of blue sharpness, and maintains usefulness throughout the game with its attack boost and hearing protection melodies. The Obsidian Horn kicks in slightly earlier with a stronger set of attack boost and defense boost melodies. In high rank, the Fated 4 hunting horns all get immediate upgrades, each with a purple note replacing its white note. The Hell Horn gains its attack boost L and finale melodies, the Poetic Bell gains its rare affinity up melody, and the Emerald Flap goes from meh to fantastic with its attack boost and defense boost S melody. This is also a solid horn that is effective throughout the game. If you want to, also pick up Senator S for Razor Sharp. Village 8 doesn't offer many good options, but has an upgrade to the Obsidian Horn that grants it blue sharpness. The Polyahu Pipe, Zamtrios' HH, is also a solid ice horn if you ever needed that. In Village 9, with the Fated 4 returning, you also gain upgrades to your Poetic Bell, Emerald Flap, and Hell Horn. The Striped Drangonga also gains some upgrades of high-rank Tigrex, increasing its attack boost from small to large. The Obsidian Horn also gains an upgrade if you do Hyper Monsters in Hub 6-star, giving it the highest raw and attack boost melodies at this point. The Polyahu Pipe also gains an upgrade here, making its blue sharpness more usable. Don't forget to snag Rathalos' armor or mix set for attack up, weakness exploit, and Razor Sharp. In Village 10, the Zurogong Secundo gains a strong upgrade, boosting it to 220 raw, while the White Dododo Horn surges ahead of Zamtrios' with 190 raw. Conquer the Hyper Fated 4 in Hub 7-star after Nakarkas to gain their upgrades as well. Before heading into G rank, if you want to stick around at the end of high rank after Urgent Diablos, there are some hunting horns you might want to look into. The Tigrex Horn is a strong raw horn with a good attack boost L, hearing protection S playlist. The Relic Horn is a fine alternative, but is locked to blue sharpness without a sharpness booster. For Deviants, we got Red Helm Arjuris' hunting horn, the Crimson Great Horn. This baby packs triple attack boost S melodies, which all last longer than attack boost L, making it somewhat easy to use. I recommend picking up at least sharpness +1 for this one. The Crimclaw Horn acts as an alternative to the Tigrex Horn, with slightly less raw, positive affinity, and deviant boost. It's a good multiplayer horn, even if the red note is on note 3. The Hellblade Horn also functions as an alternative to the Glavenus Horn, which packs attack boost L and Finale for infinite attack boost extensions. For armor choices, you've got Full Silver Rathalos, or Hyasol. Heading into G rank now with one of the worst transition of any weapon, possibly the worst. This is because the Elder Horn, while it is the Elder Horn and thus really easy to make, has an abysmal song set, not packing any form of offense at all. It's easy to make, so this is your transitional HH, but you can do better with a few alternatives. Try either the Hardened Bone Horn, which has only 10 units of blue sharpness, or the Zurogong Secundo, the Arzuros HH, with a more usable 40 units of blue sharpness. Kutku Cantabile is also your fire option, and trades only a bit of blue sharpness and raw for some fire. In G2, your first priority should be grabbing Senator Cross and gemming in Weakness Exploit to Mega Stack Affinity with Razor Sharp. After that though, here are your weapon options. Yukumo Spirit Flute has a natural white sharpness and a decent attack boost and healing song set. Stand Choir swaps the red and green note, so red is easier to access, at the cost of only having blue sharpness and negative affinity. It's got higher raw and an extra slot over the Yukumo Spirit Flute though. The white Dodo Horn is also a fine ice option at this point if you need it. After you unlock G-Rank Hyper Monsters, you gain access to the Relic Horn, which is a fine upgrade to the Yukumo Spirit Flute by swapping out the healing songs for defense songs, and it also packs a bit more white sharpness. Though, and if you want to take on Lao, consider making the Valstrax HH, the Dragonstar Helm. You can also use the Yukumo Spirit Flute or the Relic Horn here too. Lao is practically Valor Backslam bait too, so consider teching in Quick Sheath to make them better. In G3, you gain access to the G-Rank Faded 4, which provides upgrades to all of their hunting horns, all very useful in their own right. There's also Rathalos and its mix set available in G-Rank, if you wanted to switch from Senator Cross for some reason. And in G4, you got two main options. The Sophos Horn, which trades a bit of damage for higher white sharpness, or the Zorgong Tertio, which does the opposite. More damage, less sharpness. Either are fine for taking on Atlka. After Atlka, you're in Endgame now. Congrats! So let's talk about the ideal Hunting Horn armor skills. Hunting Horn largely follows the same priorities as other Blade Master weapons, prioritizing Sharpness +1 or 2 or Razor Sharp to pay the sharpness taxes needed. You don't really need HHs with long sharpnesses, since readiness is a staple on HH. Many HHs can work with 10 hits of sharpness with readiness spam combined with Razor Sharp, but if you want more comfy hunting horns, I will recommend some. There's also some tech skills you can consider, depending on a few factors. Attack Boost L horns will tend to grab Flying Pub Soul, since it provides both Horn Maestro and KO King. Horn Maestro is great here, since it increases the uptime of Attack Boost L by 30 seconds, and the fewer times you need to recite melodies, the better. Attack Boost S hunting horns already come with a base 120 second duration, so it's not as needed there. KO King on Flying Pub Soul isn't as important, but it is free and does affect Hunting Horn, even if marginally. You can also tech in Quick Sheath if you're playing specifically Valor Hunting Horn to make those chain backslams faster. You can use Quick Sheath on Hunting Horns that either have Attack Boost S or have L and Finale instead. Usually Quick Sheath is incompatible with Flying Pub Soul because both of those tend to use decorations, so it's an either or thing. This means that it'll be harder to upkeep Attack Boost L, which is why I recommend using Finale or downgrading to Attack Boost S. A couple of notable tech skills are also Polar Hunter and Tropic Hunter. Since your base attack value affects both the attack boost melody and how powerful your crits are, flat attack skills gain double the value, especially ones as cheap as these. After the tech skills, it's just stacking crit skills like normal. So what are the signs of a good hunting horn? A major qualifying factor for solo players, and most of the time in multiplayer, is having an attack boost melody. There are very few exceptions to this, including using negate abnormal statuses for monsters such as Dread Queen Rathian, or taking Affinity up if someone else has an attack boost hunting horn. But it turns out that giving other people and yourself a percentage boost to your attack is extremely impactful. Most of the useful tech melodies, such as Hearing Protection or Negate Stamina use, come pre-packaged with horns that have attack boost, so you don't need to worry much about being useful. That is, if you think that giving everyone plus 20% attack isn't being useful enough. After looking at the song set, you may want to think a little about how your notes are configured. This usually doesn't tend to matter because of the double note mechanic, making songs way easier to maintain, but if you're playing something like Alchemy or Striker HH, then you can't get out note 3s without using the swing and slam or if you're jumping off a ledge. This makes it more of a pain to set up melodies with a few note 3s in them. In multiplayer, the swing and slam will knock away allies, so beware. Of course, if you're any of the other styles, note 3 is much easier to get out because the backswing is both faster and less disruptive. As for sharpness, Hunting Horn can work with pretty thin grades. Even 10 sharpness of a grade is workable if you can spam readiness with it. It helps that no Hunting Horn art is better than the absolutes. Finally, the ideal H8 stats will usually have good raw, or affinity to compensate for lower raw. Good raw means that the attack boost will have more of an effect, while good base affinity means that it'll be easier to stack as much of it as possible. Element, ironically, is pretty solid on HH, because they have naturally low motion values, so Element can help, but the top-of-the-line HHs only use Thunder or Dragon, with raw attack power covering the majority of the rest of the matchups. Let's take a look at some of the best hunting horns out there. The strongest raw hunting horn is the Crimson Superb Horn from Red Helm Archeress. Yeah, you didn't expect Red Helm to make an appearance anywhere else, right? Turns out that Red Helm has the perfect storm of attributes that line up on Hunting Horn. It gains a thin amount of purple sharpness at sharpness +2, which HH can maintain with absolute readiness. It's also got high attack power with 350 attack, perfect for boosting with attack boost. It's also got Deviant Boost to help with absolute readiness upkeep, and it's got the triple attack boost S playlist for easy maintenance. It's a fantastic stat stick that can focus on stacking affinity. If you're looking for a hunting horn to start jamming some tunes to, try making the Heavy Bone Horn. This guy's got the same raw as the Crimson Superb Horn, but trades the Deviant Boost and the Purple Note for more purple sharpness at sharpness +2, and gains 2 slots. The set it uses is similar as well, so it's a fine stand-in for it. Just know that it'll be harder to get to the attack boost melody because the red note is on note 3, and there's only one combo for it. The prime Thunder HH of choice is the Grinlicht Flap from Astalos. This hunting horn has the attack and defense boost S playlist, which makes it slightly harder to cast, but this horn's natural affinity and high thunder, with its natural purple sharpness, make it an ideal hunting horn for hunting any monster with a thunder weakness, which happens to be a lot of them. It's also a great multiplayer hunting horn, with its access to negate stamina use L. The last big generalist option is the Glaive Pyre Horn from Hellblade Glaveness. This one has the Finale playlist, enabling you to constantly upkeep the attack boost L melody. And Finale is easy to play because it lines up with your optimal DPS combo. Natural maxed sharpness and deviant boost help. Moving into more specific options, let's start with the Shower Clang, Gore Magala's hunting horn. This is a fine attack boost S horn with some dragon and some base affinity. You'll have to pay the sharpness tax with sharpness +2, but it's a fine option for the Uragons or Gravios in your life. Another dragon option is the Old Fatalis Aria. The lack of natural affinity compared to Gore and the attack boost L melody lasting for a shorter amount of time makes it a harder option to make sets for, but you do only need sharpness +1 to get to the purple sharpness. It's good for the Elder Dragons that have a high dragon weakness, but not necessarily thunder weakness, such as Amatsu or the Fatalises. The Glaveness Horn Nova is a fire alternative that has the Finale playlist. It needs some sharpness tax to gain purple and has no base affinity, but it's an alright horn overall. A similar fire horn is the Lavasioth HH, Magma Alphorn, which trades some fire and has negative affinity in exchange for the attack boost S playlist. These two horns are pretty close together, so take Glaveness for more fire-weak monsters and this one for raw attack power. Grimclaw Gong from Grimclaw Tigrex is a great multiplayer horn with its attack boost L and hearing protection S. Maxed sharpness and some natural affinity make it a fine raw HH for solo play as well. Another deviant hunting horn is the Daybreak Horn from Silverwind Nargacuga. More purple sharpness than the Grimclaw Gong and higher affinity are its main selling points, along with the classic attack boost L and defense boost L playlists. These attributes make it a good HH for multiplayer. Finally, the negate abnormal status hunting horn of choice is Manasikem from Atlaka. It's got really low sharpness tax requirements, and it also has triple slots. Not much else to say, really. I guess you could say that negate abnormal status is really cool, because it is. From here on out, we'll cover the remaining element and status options. I don't necessarily recommend these for serious use, but hey. Water is Mizutsune's Sublime Bell. This is your affinity up option, useful for when another hunting horn user is already using an attack boost horn. You'll need sharpness +1 to access the purple sharpness, but it is a fine option. For ice, you got the Phantasmagorical Flute from Zamtrios. You'll need to pay the sharpness tax of sharpness +2 and Razor Sharp, but the triple attack boost S song set makes this one a good option. It's mostly overshadowed by the Crimson Superb Horn though. Also, shoutouts to its sound effects. Probably my favorite of the hunting horns in this game. Moving on to the status horns, you got two options for each. Occult Shamisen has the triple attack boost S playlist and good natural affinity. It also only needs sharpness +1 and Razor Sharp to work. Lunatic Melody is your multiplayer option, with access to attack boost L. It's got a harder sharpness +2 requirement though. Both of the Najarala hunting horns are useful, the Baleful Har being your solo choice. It needs sharpness +1 for white sharpness, but it has an easier time getting to its attack boost S melody, thanks to the red note being on note 2. The Paracalamity has the attack boost L and defense boost L playlist, but gives up a fair bit of attack. The Cloaked Albtraum from Nightcloak Malfestio is a good solo sleep horn, because it's the only sleep horn with attack boost. It needs sharpness +1 for white sharpness, but it has some natural affinity. Base Malfestio's Trickster Harp is an alternative sleep option, with its defense boost and healing playlist. It stands a natural chance of putting the monster to sleep. By now, it should be no secret that Hunting Horn is firmly in bottom tier. It simply doesn't do enough damage. Even though it has an up to 20% attack steroid, your strongest normal attack dealing a whole 45% damage isn't great. And no, Hunting Horn isn't exactly a dual blades to justify having this low of damage. It's actually pretty obvious to see what happened here. Capcom overvalues Hunting Horn's attack steroid in multiplayer, so they artificially keep its damage down by kneecapping its personal damage output. This way of balancing is pretty disappointing to say the least. It's not as if solo Hunting Horn users don't exist, so if the problem is the massive attack boost melody in multiplayer, just nerf that instead. But hey, this is the hand we were dealt, so it's the hand we gotta play. Really good Hunting Horn players do exist as well, and watching them is absolutely mind-bending. They're poking monsters in windows you wouldn't ever expect, extending combos by camping under monsters, and maximizing the effectiveness of their absolutes. But speaking of which, it's really sad to see that Hunting Horn's arts are absolutely neutered. 3 self-buff arts, only one of which is useful for things that look like attacks, another one that only buffs yourself, and the last one being actually fucking useless. Hell, Sonic Smash deals fixed damage, which I guess is to play into that multiplayer aspect, but it doesn't deal nearly enough damage even thinking about that. Because of how mediocre its arts are, Alchemy and Striker aren't all that hot either, even with Alchemy's more acceptable moveset. Look, what I'm trying to say is, Hunting Horn mains, I feel for you. You've been bullied by Capcom since you've existed, and unlike Gunlance, you haven't even had any cool gimmicks like the Auto Guard Gunlance in Portable Third. Hunting Horn sacrifices just a bit too much personally to give out the funny plus 20% attack buffs. It's high time that it got more than its shit kicked in every game, and we're all tired of it.